Good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you too. Uh, can you guys see my screen that's shared?
It's see through, but I mean we can see it.
It's see-through. That's weird.
I mean, you
Yeah.
could click it and then it'll just be like a shared screen. I guess it looks like you got. If you just click on it, I did anyway. It just comes up at the whole screen.
Okay. Uh, all right. Let's crack into it. So, let's check, make sure the recording's going. It is good. All right. So I'd just like to say welcome back to the Leadership Mastery to Brandon, Nick, Kendra, Kenya, Dexter as well. Thank you for coming along today. So today marks the final week of phase one of self-mastery and purpose. Okay. In week one, we explored influence. Week two, we trained inner voice. Week three, we aligned habits with leadership credibility. Now today, what we're going to do is we're going to bring it all together because purpose and clarity form the foundation for everything that follows in your leadership system. By the end of this lesson, you should walk away knowing what guides you, why it guides you, and how to make decisions that align with your internal compass. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the previous 3 weeks or anything about what we're going to do today? I see I've got two things in chat, just a sec. Okay, well, I'll continue on then. So what we're looking at today is these things shown you on the screen there. So learning outcomes, why purpose matters, of an activity around the question I lead because. We're going to talk a little bit about clarity as a leadership tool, the purpose filter. You might, well, what's a purpose filter? We're about to show you what that means. It's quite simple. We'll go into a bit of detail around communicating with clarity because it's one of the pinnacles of leadership. We'll talk about the assignment as well, and then we'll have a bit of a discussion, and then we'll talk about next week and any final questions. So let's crack into it. So our learning outcomes for today is define personal and organisational purpose, apply clarity to guide communication and priorities, and use the purpose filter to align tasks and decisions. So why purpose matters? Okay, so purpose basically is your compass. It directs actions, decisions, leadership behaviours, and emotional resilience. Okay. I don't know if you guys know Daniel Pink. He's written a book called The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. And in there, he writes that people are driven not by external rewards, although that might see what you see on the surface, but they're actually driven, in his word, by autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Where purpose is the anchor. It's the reason why you show up when it's hard. In the book Leadership Mastery, purpose is not about motivational fluff. It is a strategic instrument. A leader, who hasn't got purpose is easily rattled. A leader with purpose is difficult to move off course. Do those things make sense to you guys so far?
Yes.
Thanks, Dexter. So what I want you to do, this is a little bit of an activity, okay? And I don't want you to overthink this. I only want you to take about 10 seconds. But if you had to finish this sentence right now without overthinking it, I lead because. G'day, Jordan. Welcome to the class. So I lead because, and I want you to write in chat what comes up. Don't take too long, team. Just lay it on there. It's not about perfection. So you can see that in the chat, there's a range of reasons why people lead. Some because it's natural, some because they have to. And I'm sure there's a blend somewhere there. But just also remember, if we're talking about purpose in relation to leadership, it's also not fixed. So I gave you 10 seconds to come up with a reason why you lead. But I'm sure that if you took a little bit of time and dived into some of those things that you put on the text there would be more reasons, okay? And those reasons would help you shape your purpose, okay? Also understand that purpose evolves with maturity and responsibility. So basically, coming to these lessons and all the other lessons and your life experiences shape your things right now, but things are going to come along in the future, which will mold and shape you, which will potentially change your purpose. Okay. Yep. 100% Nick. All right. So it evolves. Basically, your purpose will evolve as you mature and take on more responsibility. But clarity, okay, clarity about what drives you now is a non-negotiable for effective leadership. So this what we're talking about here is really critical for you to understand if you want to shape who you are as a leader. Okay, it's really, really important to take the time to sit with this question and let it evolve into what it is that suits you. All right. Are there any questions on this point? Welcome, Kiana. And I think Daniel came in as well. Welcome, Daniel. Are there any questions about purpose? Okay. So clarity. So we've talked about purpose a little bit, okay, and that's really a personal thing that you need to shape, okay. Clarity as a leadership tool. Okay, so you can see a couple of words I've put on there of what clarity reduces and what clarity increases. Before I get into any more of this, what are these things, which of these things do you find relevant for yourself? Or do you have other points of view around what clarity reduces and what clarity increases?
Me personally, I'm a planner, so clarity definitely reduces anxiety and burnout. If I know how my day is going to go, more or less, I'm less strained by things that happen or come up.
Yep. Okay. And what does that do for you personally and productivity wise?
It makes me more productive because I'm not blindsided by things,
Yep.
and I'm able to, structure everything. So I know when I'm going to get to what I need to get to. Whereas if there's no plan in place, for me, it's just like, I don't know when this is going to finish. So when am I going to start the next thing? And it's like you're basically gambling. That's how it
Mhm.
feels.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Kendra, you put psychological safety. Do you want to expand on that a little bit? No? Okay. All right. So if purpose is your compass, then clarity is the map that turns direction into action. And much like what Dector was saying for his situation, it reduces friction, it reduces rework. Okay, hang on, come back to Canva. The more clarity, this helps the mind to stay more clear and aware. Yeah, yeah, which is kind of what I'm talking about here with it reduces frictions, reduces rework, It also reduces burnout for both you and your team. Let's flip this a little bit though. Like we're talking about all the things that it has a positive effect. But what about the flip side? You know, when communication lacks clarity, what happens?
It causes chaos. It causes miscommunications. Expectations are not aligned. It just causes, it can cause a lot of issues that could be avoided. It erodes trust, it erodes chemistry. Yeah, it's not a good place to be when things aren't clear.
Correct. And where does that begin? If you're okay, so it's a rhetorical question, really. If you're the leader of a team, then it all stems from you. Okay. And like Dexter's saying, what happens when you're not clear, and we'll get to some examples in a minute. When you're not clear, then the teams will try to fill in the gaps with assumptions about what your intentions are. The problem with that is most assumptions will be wrong. And the cost of misalignment is always higher than the cost of clarity. So learning how to be clear in what you provide direction on, and this is not just with teams, this is also with yourself. Okay, is getting clear with yourself so that you know exactly what you want as well. I see a lot of times in the workplace that lack of clarity that the leader has with what they want to achieve is, I won't say 100% of the cause of miscommunication, but it is one of the most significant factors in that, because if the leader doesn't understand what they need to do and haven't clearly articulated it for them, then it's very difficult for them to articulate that to their team. Okay. So like I was talking to you about purpose a moment ago, being critical, so is clarity in communication, and clarity in leadership is critical to an effective outcome. Okay. It's also, and Deck mentioned this as well with the team, it's about them having clarity as well, because they're going to talk with their subordinates, okay, and their suppliers and their customers. And if the messaging isn't clear, you can have downturns in those spaces as well. Okay. So it's really important that you spend some time looking at how you communicate, and working out whether or not it is clear to those receiving your communication. Okay. So as Kendra was talking about, I'm just moving on a little bit now. Clarity creates psychological safety, allows others to anticipate your expectations, is a fantastic performance accelerator, and also reduces decision fatigue for your teams, also for yourself, because you know with certainty, because you're aligning your vision, your clarity with your purpose. All right. The other thing with lack of clarity is you'll find there's a lot of duplication of work, there's a lot of hesitation, you don't meet deadlines, conflict, blame shifting, emotional exhaustion, and all of those things stem from a lack of clarity. Yes, there might be other factors in that, but if you are clear in your direction, then you will reduce significantly those things in your team and with yourself as well. So there's some core principles that are associated with speaking clearly and providing direction. You can see them on the head. There's clarity, consciousness, concreteness, correctness, coherence, completeness, and courtesy. So just take a moment to have a look at those. And then if you like, let's have a bit of a discussion in regards to what you can do to improve those things. Either come up on microphone or put your comments in the chat.
I think one that is important in my experience is the completeness. So the roadmap or the plan or direction that we're going in needs to be charted from start to finish. I know sometimes people can start something and then kind of say we'll figure out as we go, which can be, I mean, sometimes that is the case. You don't know where it's going to end up. I feel like, as I said, I'm a planner. So for me, I like at least like a rough kind of idea of where we're looking to end up with
Yep.
something, as opposed to let's just start and see how it goes. That can be frustrating for me.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And if you're getting frustrated with no end goal, imagine, and it's not been articulated by the leader, imagine how the rest of the team are feeling.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Anybody else got any thoughts on the 7 Cs? All right, so let's just work a little bit through this. So clarity. Okay, I've got some more information about this on the next slide, but we're talking about being specific. Now, when wouldn't people be clear? Why wouldn't they be clear and specific about their message? Yeah, it does, Kendra. Yeah.
In my experience, people sometimes do this when they assume that everybody kind of already understands what they want and what they're hoping for.
Yep. Yep. I think if we come back a bit from that point, all right, if you're the leader and you're about to provide direction to your team about an end goal that you're trying to achieve, or you will achieve, all right, then sometimes what I've seen in my working life is that they'll come into a meeting and they'll all be confident and all that sort of stuff, but you leave the meeting not knowing what they wanted. Because, like Dexter said before, they didn't know what the end goal was. And because they didn't know, and the key word there is know what the end goal was, and that may be because whoever provided them, if they haven't generated this themselves, it might have come from somewhere else. It hasn't come clear for them, and they haven't quantified what they that.
I have one, Professor.
Yeah, go for it. Can't hear anything.
Are you able to hear me, Professor?
I can now. Go ahead.
Lack of, or why someone may create an environment with lack of clarity. I said to control through ambiguity.
Yeah.
If to keep things vague, shifting, things of that sort, or more so to avoid accountability.
Yep. Yep. So you're saying it's like a defensive mechanism that I've seen in the workforce where people who are let's say they're on the floor, they're hands on doing all the work, and they suddenly get moved up into a position of leadership, and they feel like they're not worthy of it, and so they'll sometimes put up defensive measures to cover what they feel is a lack within themselves. Okay, and that can take various forms as well, which is one of what you're talking about. But for today, what I'd like us to do is focus this more about you as the leader. And what I'm trying to get to with clarity is when you don't have a clear vision of your purpose, okay, it's very difficult for you to drive with clarity to your end goal, all right, and engage with the people who are going to support your end goal. And one of the reasons why this lesson is so important is about understanding your purpose and getting clear with what that is. Because when that is clear, then you will be clear in your communications. And by being clear, your messages will be simple. They will be unambiguous. All right. And so I can't stress it enough to understand what that is. All right. Because once you have purpose, it's like this end goal that Dexter was talking about before. This is what I'm going to do. This is who I'm going to be. Stems from this is what I'm going to do. All right. So doing the work in that space gives you the drive that you need to create the clarity, create the consciousness, instead of waffling on, like sometimes I waffle on, I know this, right? But you'll get to the point. And if you can get to the point quickly with as few unambiguous words, then what that does is reduces confusion in those who you're passing the message on to, or passing on what you need from them to do. And what a lot of this stems down, if you look at all these C's, what a lot of this stems from is doing the work to get full understanding of what you're aiming to achieve so that you can be clear, you can provide clarity and consciousness and concreteness and correctness and all of those 7 C's. You can apply them into your communication, both text and voice. Does anybody have any more questions around the 7 C's? So we talked about the 7 C's before, primarily principles, but here's some practices that you can apply. So active listening, okay? Active listening is being in these classes, for example, and not having distractions to your side. All right, because when you're not paying full attention, you will sometimes miss the key conversations, the key points. In this class, yes, you can go and see the recordings, but the point is, by applying full attention, what happens within your brain, it actually gathers all the information and all the context that's associated with it to create an image within your mind of what it was about and how it relates to you. All right, so it's about paying attention. It's also a respect thing as well, if you have respect for the person, that is. So by actually listening to them, what it means, if you're actively listening, then you can ask pertinent questions when there's something that you need to clear with the person that you're communicating with. You can ask them a relevant question. So what does that do? So we're talking about listening now. So when you do that, what does that do for the other person?
They feel understood.
Yep. Can we expand on that somewhat?
I'd say if you feel understood, then you in whatever the other party is going to say. So as a leader, that person that you're listening to and giving your full attention to, they're more likely to, you build a rapport with them, they trust you more, they're more confident in, your leadership.
Yeah. So here's an example, and I want to extrapolate a little bit more on what Dex is talking about there. Is communication happens the moment you open your eyes. It starts happening there. When you get into the place where you're leading, it could be your workplace or your business. As a leader, part of your role is to build a high functioning team. Okay. Note, I don't say high performing team as well. Ask me about that at the end and I'll explain why I don't say high performing. I say high functioning, and there's a very specific reason why. But the moment you walk into the room, your body language, your presence, your aura is affecting that room. Okay. When you come up to a person, and you might just be having a conversation with them about how they are, all right, or you're sharing something that happened for you on the weekend. When you are actively listening and actively present for those conversations, people pick up that you're interested in them. Okay. And what that does, that brings initially respect, potentially friendship, and then loyalty, if you are consistent with it. And it all starts with active listening. By actively listening to what they have to say, can benefit your organization, can benefit your whole team, can benefit you. All right. So spend a bit of time auditing yourself. Now, I'm not going to ask you to write anything down about this, but audit yourself. Take the time to audit yourself and go, well, do I actually actively listen? Or when I'm having conversations with people, am I looking away? Am I thinking, oh shit, I've got to go and get this done? Am I present? And just take the time to think about those things for yourself and then go, well, you know what? I am some of the times. I am all the times. Or where do you sit within that? And what are the clues that make you be present, actively listening? And what are the things that make you distracted? Okay, because they are useful cues for you to understand how you operate and how you interact with people. Okay, active listening is also the gateway to empathy, all right, as well. Understanding your non-verbal cues and the other person's verbal cues. Like I was mentioning to you then about looking away. Like if you're looking away, checking your phone, if you're fidgeting, things like that, that's a cue for you to the other person and the other person to you about where your attention is. We've already spoken about using plain language. Also be open to feedback. Sometimes you might be the leader and you think you're doing a fantastic job. You've got a high functioning teams, all the sales records are awesome. There's very little HR problems. But somebody comes up to you and gives you a bit of feedback, be open to it because that's their point of view, right? And they've had the courage to actually come up to you and say, hey, did you know about this? And that's when you start applying your active listening, your empathy, looking at the non-verbal cues, using plain language with them, and being present because they've had the courage to come and talk to you about something. Now, creating the environment in your workplace where somebody has the courage to do that, you need to apply all of these things to build that environment. Okay. Timing and adaptability. Okay, that's something that you'll learn in time as you grow and understand the human interactions that you're going to be participating in as you're building your leadership and your understanding of yourself. You're not going to get this right every single time, but just remember to move forward. The old adage is 1% a day, if you can, and you'll be a new person in 12 months, I guarantee it. And then also the positive language side. Look at how you actually frame your conversations. Okay, as where possible, framing it in a positive light. Sometimes you're going to have hard, difficult conversations. Okay, so that doesn't mean when I say framing in a positive light, that doesn't mean don't have difficult conversations. It means do them in such a way that it's about facts and not a personal attack. Okay? And shape that as best as possible. Okay, is there any questions on what we've covered here at the moment? Okay, B. I'm not sure, Kendra, what you mean by how do you keep things balanced if they feel more important from your highly attentive nature? Feel more important. Are you able to come up on mic and discuss?
Yes, I am. I want to actually go more deeper on this one here. So sometimes as we're speaking about presence, right? And active listening. So what that consists of is giving your full attention. But have you ever experienced to where sometimes it'll make the individual or persons feel more important or feel highly important? I
Can
hope
you
I'm
just,
asking it.
yeah, can you, I think I know what you're talking about, but can you just expand on the results of making them feel more important?
Well, that can lead to the other team members begin to feel a sense of favoritism, or coherently, someone else may feel whether neglected or that they are not getting enough of your attention.
Yeah, so so there's two parts of this. One part is an assumption, okay? The other part is being aware of that potentiality and sharing your attendance around. So what I'm talking about is actually balancing your attention across the whole team that you work with, or the key players that you work with. All right.
And what would you say the risk would be if, let's say, team members misinterpret a leader's attention as endorsement, approval, or authority?
So this is where you need to bring in the difficult conversations and observe
Okay.
observe behavior. And if you become aware of that behavior, then it's your role as the leader to bring that into check. Because what will happen is that will reduce the capacity of your team. It'll become dysfunctional, and you won't have a coherent outcome. So this is all about you as a leader setting the boundaries and people understanding their role in the organization. So you have
That makes sense.
yeah. So you have no, like, you're going to do what you're going to do, right? You have no control over I'll say you have no control about how people think and what their thinking turns to in their behavior. All you can deal with is what you observe and or what is reported to you, and take action if the behavior is producing undesirable results.
Now, Professor, would you say there are certain signals that a leader send consciously or unconsciously when they give one person more attention than others? Are there signals to this?
So I will say it is a natural function of human behavior to have favorites. All right. It's going to happen. We are human. We pick up on what people are putting down, and we do. It's a natural thing. But as a leader, you need to be conscious of that, so that you can then balance out your attention and your I want your direction to your team on what you need to do, because you do have a hierarchy within your team. Okay, you'll have the ones that you'll have about, I'd say, up to 6 people in your team who are the main people who will drive the rest of the crew. You will provide direction to up to those 6, and they will be the ones that you mostly focus on. However, what you should be doing on a regular basis is getting out onto the floor and having a talk with people, just a personal talk, because what that does is it builds the leadership understanding of your crew, of your team, okay, and applying those 7 C's and these essential practices when you're communicating, because you need to apply these at all levels, because it'll build the loyalty, it'll build the understanding with your team and the commitment. And what you'll find is what you're talking about, you'll have less of, okay, because you're treating everybody equal. Yes, you will have people that have positions which will provide further orders to the deeper level staff, okay, but you need to be amongst your people. You need them to buy into your narrative, to your purpose, okay, because it comes back to loyalty. They will be more loyal, and part of leadership is building loyalty. And we do that through being clear, applying these essential practices, okay, and then observing. Okay, leaders are less on the job, right? There's a lot more delegation, and it's really important that you understand what you can delegate. Now we'll come into that a little bit, okay? Does that help, Kendra, and the rest of the team?
Yes, extremely. Thank you.
That's okay. Does anybody have any more they'd like to add into this space?
Just a quick one. I think in the first lesson you mentioned like is it server leadership or
Servant.
service leadership?
Servant.
Yeah. So could you give an example of how a servant leader would provide clarity to a team?
In the same, okay, so when you provide clarity, it doesn't matter what type of style of leadership you're applying, it is the same principle. Okay, what's different is in the delivery mechanism. So a servant leader might be more about the verbiage that they would use will be more along the lines of together we can do this. If you need any help with this, ABC, which I need, I need this by X date. All right, come to me with any of your problems. They'll be more hands-on involved in that space. Is how I would see that a service leader would be involved, more hands-on than say somebody that say authoritarian type leadership.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more like they I don't know how to phrase it, but it's less like they're kind of talking down to you.
That's
It's
right.
more like they're
Yeah,
they're part
equals.
of the team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're more like equals, and they're more involved, a lot more hands-on, and that is fine too. There's no reason why you can't be. You just be mindful that if you're more hands-on, then you've actually got a higher workload because you're doing the work with the team. Okay, you're standing in the trenches side by side, but then you've also got this other aspect, which is providing the direction and establishing the direction and creating the purpose for the teams as well. So it's a balance. There'll be time. So leadership is actually a lot like a game of football. Like if you're the quarterback, let's say you're the quarterback, it's about reading what's in front of you, okay, and going, this is the play that needs to occur. We need to do this, okay. So you give the commands to the team, and they execute. And as a quarterback, you throw the ball at I don't know what you call them over there, the running linebacker or something, and they either catch the ball or they fumble the ball. Or your blockers don't do their job, and of course you get taken out. Now, when those, so that's a failure in the team to achieve the outcome. One hand you achieve the outcome, the other hand you don't. When you have a failure to achieve the outcome, then you've got to pull together and go, okay, guys, we didn't do that right. And it's the same principle in the business world, because you will have setbacks. It's a given. You'll have setbacks in your own lives and in your business world. And so it's what you do with those setbacks and how you actually reshape things to achieve the outcome, because you've still got the outcome to achieve. It's the same principle. Is that clear?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on this team? No? All right. Next one. All right. So the purpose for actually, hang on, just check something. Yep, we're good. Okay, the purpose filter. Okay. So it's really simple, right? And it's a tool leaders use to evaluate decisions and tasks, and it is very, very simple. 2 questions, or 2 answers actually. Does this action align with my purpose? If yes, keep going. If no, either delegate it, redesign it, or eliminate it. So for example, your purpose is to build people who build great things. A request comes in asking you to micromanage a team task that someone else should own. Through the purpose filter, what are the questions? So I want you to come up with what the question you would ask if you were using this purpose filter. Does this action align with my purpose? All right. And our request is asking you to micromanage a team that someone else should own. So what, if you were using this purpose filter, what would your questions be?
To me, I might ask, is this something that I should actually be doing? Or is
Yep.
this someone else's thing?
Yep. Yep. Any more? All right. All right. So for me, there's 2 parts of this, because your purpose, remember your purpose is to build people who build great things. And a request has come through to you asking you to micromanage a team task that someone else should own. So the 2 questions are, does micromanagement build capability? In most cases, no. And does it align with developing others? Yeah. So in this case, it doesn't align with developing others. Therefore, your correct leadership action is delegation with support, not taking over. So in this case, you're actually getting somebody else to lead that task, but you're supporting them through that as well. So this would be something along that sort of leadership that you were talking about before, Dex. So what I would like you to do, think of a decision or responsibility on your plate this week. Does it pass the purpose filter, or are you holding it for the wrong reasons? So I'll just, this is something you can put in chat if you want to. You can come up on comms if you want to, or you can keep silent. It's okay. All right, but I want you to remember this question. Does it pass the purpose filter? And have a think about it. I'll just give you a minute to think about that. I think we've been a little bit less than a minute, but what I do want to ask is how did it feel putting a responsibility you have in front of the purpose filter and asking that question? Anyone? All right. So, team, with regard to this filter, it's very, very simple, okay? But a lot of people don't ask it, all right, because they get into their emotional states. They don't step back from whatever the situation is. Go, okay, does this actually drive me to my purpose? All right. Take the time to write that down somewhere, put it on a notepad, put it on your fridge, put it on a mirror, put it on your phone, and it comes up as a repeat message, once a day, twice a day, whatever suits you. So it becomes a prompt and it becomes a natural thing that you do on a regular basis. Because what do you think if you did this to the things that you've got going on, both professionally and personally, what would it do for your life?
Saves you time, makes you more efficient, and a better leader.
Yeah. Yep. Great. Anybody else? It's okay to come up on comms team.
To me, implementing these corrective actions now, it helps you see just how far you are coming along and changing with your definite purpose.
Yep. Yep. 100% agree, Kendra. All right. Move on. So communicating with clarity. So earlier I gave you the 7 C's of communication, an essential practice to use when communicating with clarity. So there's a few things that I want you to remember. Okay. So clarity is not about more words. Clarity is about fewer wrong words. Okay, Pranav. It's about precision. When giving direction, your clarity should answer what needs to be done, why it matters, how success will be measured, what autonomy or boundaries exist. So if you can do this, this reduces uncertainty, it reduces emotional drain on your team. So for example, imagine a leader saying, make sure the client is happy. What do you think of that? If a leader said to you, you're about to go out and see a client, okay, you're a team member, if the leader said, make sure they're happy, what does that tell you?
For me, that's very vague
Oh,
because
yes.
the client, huh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the client might be happy with a free item or free product. So then does that mean I just give it to him?
Yeah,
So definitely need more info on that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So what the leader should have said was by Friday, deliver a revised proposal with a new pricing model and implementation timeline. The goal is to, basically what you're trying to do in this situation, we don't know what they're selling in this case, right? But it's clear. You've given a time, you've given a, so that's the what needs to be done. Then why it matters is delivering a revised proposal with a new price model and implementation timeline, okay, with the goal to reduce objections during negotiation. Okay, so you've got to, you're trying to reduce objections. That's why it matters. And then obviously the goal, the success measure will be achievement of the contract or the proposal or whatever they're actually seeking. We're not talking about autonomy or boundaries in this one, all right? But you're being clear as a leader of what they need to do. Okay, it's the difference. If you're clear, it's a difference between leadership versus noise. So we've given you 7 C's. The other parts, the essential points, and now we've given you what, why, how, and what autonomy or boundaries exist. If you can incorporate those into your goals, your decision points, it will provide you clarity around your purpose. Okay, so if you're talking about your purpose, for example, the question is, what is my purpose? All right, and you sit with that. Why is my purpose important to me? How will I measure the success? How do I know I've achieved my purpose? And what am I going to delegate? What are my boundaries around what I will and won't do? So these are all important questions when you're talking to defining your purpose, but also bring these, once you've got that sorted and you've got your businesses and you're dealing with clients and you're dealing with suppliers and you're dealing with your staff, these questions are still applicable. So come back and watch the recording, or you're taking note now, all is good. But start to understand these about yourself and then about other people, and how you can shape yourself and your team to achieve your purpose. Any final questions on this part? We're about to go into the assignment. All right, so the assignment for phase 1 is a short essay of 750 words. Has a purpose statement, origin story, how clarity shapes leadership behavior, and application to future leadership. All right, so basically we're looking at defining your leadership purpose, what needs to be done. You need to write an essay. To do that, you need to do 2 things. You must first do 2 things, which is articulate your purpose statement. Then describe how clarity will guide your decisions, communications, and leadership behaviors. Okay. So what I recommend, if you've got either a notepad in your computer or something you can write down, actually I'm going to put these in chat, okay, so that you can copy them out of there. All right.
Do you have this in the Cortex also?
No, I don't. Not this one. This one I want you to create yourself. So if you have a look in the chat, I'll put the 1 through 4. My leadership purpose, a 1-sentence definition. Your origin story, why this purpose matters to you. How I lead, or how you lead with clarity, communication, expectations, decision-making, and boundaries. How purpose will guide your future leadership. So with this essay, it's only 750 words. So that's about 3/4 of the page if you're running 12 font times New Roman, okay? And what is it? I think it's 1.15 line spacing, right? So the main thing in here is, like, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for authenticity. And remember, vulnerability is a strength, not a flaw. So don't be too hard on yourself. Don't rewrite it 50 times. Just write what you think. Okay. And yeah, we'll have a look at that, and then we can have a conversation about that a bit later. Are there any questions, team?
Do we just email that to you then?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, nice and simple, nothing complex. So my question to you guys, and we're just going to, we're getting ready to wrap up, okay, is how does Clarity protect teams from burnout?
I can speak to that a little bit. So, from my perspective, clarity sets the expectation. The team knows what they're working towards and the standard that is expected from them. That can make it prevent you feeling like you're on a treadmill. You have to consistently like keep up a pace that you're not sure where the end goal is. As opposed to when you have clarity about the end goal, maybe you can grind it out, put in the extra effort, and then once you reach the goal, you can kind of ease off a little bit.
Yep. 100%. So from my perspective, clarity helps reduce burnout because it often comes from ambiguity, not workload. It also, as Dex said and Kendra said earlier, it sets clear expectations around psychological limits. It also gives permission to stop guessing and start performing. I mean, I can't remember how many times I've seen, and I've actually been involved with, where a leader has come into the workforce, given some direction, and then said the end goal is this, and then walked away. All right. Now, sometimes that's really good because especially if you've got a team that's really swept up, but sometimes it's not because the team has to work out what you're actually trying to achieve and how to get there. And so that then can lead to working long hours, becoming disgruntled, and setting up the beginning stages or even progressing to stages of a low morale workplace as well. And so by being clear about what's required, about the purpose that's going for whatever the task is fundamental to leadership. And don't be too hard on yourself because you're not going to get it right every day, particularly in the beginning stages. But if you set things up like I listened to what Dex is talking about as a planner, and that's a strategy that works for a lot of people, is planning it out from where to go, all the steps like dominoes along the path to achieving a goal. That works for a lot of people. Some people will write a plan, but then once they're in front of people, they'll say something completely different. And so there's different ways of applying this. A lot of time, not a lot of times, but sometimes when people have set the plan, but then when they get in front of the people, they start talking about something else and a different way of doing it. It's because what's happened is when they wrote the plan and then they come to the team, yes, they've got they might have a spreadsheet or a notebook that they're reading from, but they're getting epiphanies as they're talking and evolving the plan as they go. Now that can be very, very confusing for people receiving the plan. Okay, so just be mindful if you're in that space. Sometimes that works off the cuff, but a lot of times it just creates more confusion than anything else. Okay, so for now, I would suggest focusing. If you don't already have a system in place, create a habit like we've talked about in the past that sets up a process for you to achieve the things, achieve the purposes that you, or purpose that you set for yourself. Take the time to run a roadmap from where you are now to where your purpose is, so that you can take the steps and write them up or speak them to yourself or confide with somebody, whatever works for you in your scenario or situation to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Because you are Spartans and you will achieve what you need to achieve. You just need to define what that is and set the path. And that, my friends, is just about it. I've got a question so I come up. I'll come back to that. So just wanted to let you know that next week is about communication mastery. Phase 2, we begin phase 2 next week. Also, next week will be the last session for the year, and then we'll get together again in January. I think it's what am I? 10th? I think it's the 13th of January or 12th of January, somewhere around there. And we'll be starting in with phase 2, which is about impactful communication, listening, trust building, and decision frameworks. Are there any questions about phase 1? Yep. One sec. There you go. All right, Kenya. Does anybody want to screenshot those ones as well, the essential practices? No? All right. Lastly, is I've received some of your submissions. I will be, once I've received the essays in, I will mark them all as a group, and then I'll provide individual feedback. Okay. If there are no more questions, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for your attendance. Thanks for your involvement, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And I will see you next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Oh.
Can you put the QR code up?
Oh, come on. I can do that. I've actually got it. I've actually got it there this time. Where did it go?